I opened the door that morning and everything changed. Not the world, not the house, just me. Standing there in my own doorway, I felt like a stranger in a life I had built with my own two hands. The air was cold, my hands were shaking, and for the first time in 23 years of marriage, I wondered if I had been living a lie. My name is Carol, I'm 51 years old. I've been a wife, a mother, a daughter-in-law, and a peacemaker my entire adult life. I thought I knew what love looked like. I thought I knew what family meant. But that morning, when I opened the door and saw what was waiting for me, I realized I had been blind. Let me take you back. It was a Tuesday, early November. The kind of morning where the sky is gray and heavy, like it's holding its breath. I had just finished making breakfast for my husband, Richard. Scrambled eggs, toast, coffee, black, no sugar. The same breakfast I'd made him for over 2 decades. He didn't say thank you, he never did. But I didn't need him to, or at least, that's what I told myself. Richard left for work at 7:30 like always. He kissed me on the forehead, a quick, distracted gesture. Then he was gone. The house fell silent. Our 2 kids, Michael and Sarah, had moved out years ago. Michael was 30, married, living 2 states away. Sarah was 27, engaged, busy planning her wedding. It was just me and Richard now, just us. And somehow that felt lonelier than being alone. I was washing dishes when I heard the knock. 3 sharp raps, firm, deliberate. I dried my hands on a towel and walked to the front door, my heart doing this strange little flutter. I wasn't expecting anyone. The mailman didn't knock. Our neighbors kept to themselves. So who could it be? I opened the door, and there she was, a woman, maybe in her early 40s. Blonde hair pulled back in a tight ponytail, sharp blue eyes. Wearing a black coat and holding a manila envelope in her hands, she looked at me like she knew me, like she had been waiting for this moment. "Carol?" she asked. I nodded, confused. "Yes." "Can I help you?" She didn't smile, she just held out the envelope. "You need to see this," she said. Her voice was calm, but there was something underneath it. Something sad, something angry. I took the envelope, my fingers suddenly numb. "What is this?" "Open it," she said, "and then you'll understand." Before I could ask anything else, she turned and walked away, just like that. Down my driveway, into a silver car parked across the street, and she was gone. I stood there, frozen. The envelope felt heavy in my hands. Heavier than it should have been. I closed the door. Locked it, my legs felt weak, so I sat down on the couch in the living room. The envelope was unmarked. No name, no address, just plain brown paper. I tore it open. Inside were photographs. Maybe a dozen of them. I pulled them out slowly, one by one, my heart pounding in my chest. The first photo was of Richard, my husband, sitting at a restaurant I didn't recognize, smiling, laughing. And across from him, a woman. Not the blonde who had just been at my door. Someone else. Younger, dark hair, pretty. They were holding hands across the table. I felt the air leave my lungs. I flipped to the next photo. Richard and the same woman walking down a street, his arm around her waist. The next. Richard kissing her, on the lips, in broad daylight. My hands started to shake. I kept going. More photos, different locations, different days, but always the same 2 people. My husband and her. At the bottom of the stack was a note. Handwritten, neat, careful letters. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but you deserve to know the truth. He's been seeing her for 2 years. Her name is Jessica. She works at his office. I thought you should know before you waste any more of your life." It wasn't signed. I sat there, staring at the note, at the photos, at the evidence of a betrayal I never saw coming. My mind was racing. My chest felt tight, I couldn't breathe. 2 years he had been lying to me. 2 years he had been living a double life, and I had no idea. How could I have been so blind? I thought about every late night at the office, every business trip, every time he came home tired and distant. Every time I asked if something was wrong and he said, "I'm fine, just work." I had believed him, every single time, because I trusted him, because I loved him. Because that's what you do when you've been married for 23 years. But now, sitting here with these photos in my lap, I felt like a fool. I didn't cry, not yet, I was too shocked, too numb. It was like my brain couldn't process what my eyes were seeing. I put the photos back in the envelope and set it on the coffee table. Then I just sat there, staring at the wall, trying to understand how my life had fallen apart in the span of 5 minutes. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. Each second felt like an eternity. What was I supposed to do now? Confront him, scream, cry, pack his bags and throw him out? Or was I supposed to pretend I never saw this, bury it deep and keep playing the role of the dutiful wife? I didn't know. All I knew was that the woman who had opened that door this morning was not the same woman sitting here now. Everything had changed, and there was no going back. If these stories feel real to you, please subscribe. Let me tell you how I got here. I met Richard when I was 26 years old. I was working as a receptionist at a dental office, and he came in one day for a cleaning. He was charming, confident. He had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. He asked me out before he even left the building. I said yes. How could I not? We dated for 2 years. He was kind, thoughtful. He remembered my birthday, brought me flowers, called me every night before bed. My parents loved him. My friends loved him. Everyone said we were perfect together. We got married in the spring. It was a small wedding, just family and close friends. I wore my mother's dress. Richard cried when he saw me walk down the aisle. I thought I was the luckiest woman in the world. The first few years were good. Really good. We were happy. We laughed a lot. We traveled. We dreamed about the future. We talked about having kids, buying a house, growing old together. And we did. We had Michael first. Then Sarah 2 years later. We bought a house in a quiet neighborhood. Richard worked hard. I stayed home with the kids. That was the plan. He was the provider. I was the nurturer. Traditional, yes, but it worked for us. Or at least I thought it did. Richard was a good father. He played catch with Michael in the backyard. He took Sarah to her ballet recitals. He was there for the big moments. But as the years went on, he was there less and less. Work became his priority. He climbed the corporate ladder, promotions. Raises, more responsibility, more hours. I understood. Someone had to pay the bills. Someone had to keep the lights on. And I was proud of him. Proud of what he had accomplished. But somewhere along the way, we stopped being partners. We became roommates. Ships passing in the night. He would come home late, eat dinner in silence, and fall asleep in front of the TV. I would clean up, do laundry, and go to bed alone. We stopped talking, really talking, about us, about our feelings, about what we wanted. I told myself it was just a phase. That once the kids were older, we'd reconnect. We'd find each other again. But the kids grew up, they moved out, and nothing changed. If anything, it got worse. Richard became more distant, more cold. He started taking more business trips. He'd be gone for days at a time. When I asked where he was going, he'd give vague answers. Client meetings, conferences, training sessions. I never questioned it. Why would I? I trusted him. But now, looking back, I see all the signs I missed. The late-night phone calls he'd take in another room. The way he'd guard his phone like it was a treasure chest. The cologne that smelled different. The receipts for restaurants I'd never been to. I was so naive, or maybe I just didn't want to see it. Maybe some part of me knew, deep down, that if I looked too closely I'd find something I couldn't ignore. So I didn't look. I stayed in my lane. I kept the house clean, made the meals, smiled when he came home, and pretended everything was fine. But it wasn't fine. And now, sitting here with those photos in my lap, I couldn't pretend anymore. I thought about calling my daughter Sarah. She lived just 30 minutes away. She'd come over, she'd sit with me, she'd tell me what to do, but I couldn't, not yet. Because if I said it out loud, it would be real. And I wasn't ready for it to be real, so I sat there, alone, in the house I had made a home, surrounded by the life I had built. And I felt it all crumbling around me. The clock kept ticking, I kept staring. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a voice whispered, "You deserve better than this." But did I? I had spent 23 years being Richard's wife, Michael and Sarah's mother, the woman who held everything together, the woman who sacrificed and smiled and never complained. Was I allowed to be angry now? Was I allowed to break? I didn't know. All I knew was that the life I thought I had was gone, and I had no idea what came next. I stayed on that couch for hours. I didn't move, didn't eat, didn't drink. I just sat there holding those photos, trying to make sense of it all. At some point my phone buzzed, a text from Richard. "Working late tonight." Don't wait up. I stared at the message. 3 years ago, I would have replied with something sweet. Okay, honey, be safe, love you. But today, I didn't reply at all. I just set the phone down and closed my eyes. And for the first time in a very long time, I let myself feel the truth. I was alone. I had been alone for years. And I didn't know if I had the strength to keep pretending I wasn't. If these stories feel real to you, please subscribe. I didn't sleep that night. Richard came home around 11. I heard his car pull into the driveway, the jingle of his keys, the creak of the front door. He walked past the living room where I was sitting in the dark and headed straight upstairs. He didn't call out for me, didn't check if I was okay. He just assumed I was asleep. I listened to his footsteps above me, the sound of the shower running, the bed creaking as he climbed in. And I sat there in the dark with those photos still on the coffee table. I wanted to march upstairs, throw the pictures in his face, demand answers, demand the truth, but I didn't. Because a part of me was terrified. Terrified that if I confronted him, he'd confirm it, he'd admit it, and then I'd have to decide what to do next, so I waited. The next morning, Richard came downstairs in his suit, looking as polished and put together as always. He poured himself a cup of coffee and grabbed a piece of toast. Morning, he said, barely glancing at me. Morning, I replied. My voice sounded hollow, empty. He didn't notice. He checked his watch. I have back-to-back meetings today. Probably won't be home until late again, I nodded. Okay. He kissed me on the forehead again, that same quick, distracted kiss, and then he was gone. I stood at the kitchen sink, gripping the edge of the counter, trying to keep myself from screaming. How could he act so normal? How could he lie so easily? I spent the rest of the day in a fog. I tried to distract myself. I cleaned, I did laundry. I went to the grocery store, but nothing worked. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those photos, Richard and her, Jessica. I kept replaying the note in my head. 2 years. 2 years of lies, 2 years of betrayal, 2 years of me being the fool. By the time evening came, I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to talk to someone, I needed to hear myself say it out loud. So I called Sarah, she answered on the second ring. Hey, Mom. What's up? I opened my mouth to speak, but the words caught in my throat. My eyes burned with tears I had been holding back all day. Mom, Sarah's voice shifted, concerned now. Are you okay? I swallowed hard. Can you come over, right now, please? There was a pause. I'll be there in 20 minutes. She hung up, and I sat down at the kitchen table, my hands trembling. 20 minutes felt like an eternity. When Sarah arrived, she took one look at me and knew something was wrong. She wrapped her arms around me, and that's when I finally broke. I sobbed. Deep, gut-wrenching sobs that I didn't even know I had in me. Sarah held me, whispering, It's okay, Mom, it's okay. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out. When I finally calmed down enough to speak, I handed her the envelope. She pulled out the photos. Her face went pale. Mom, what is this? Your father, I whispered. He's been having an affair. Sarah's hands shook as she flipped through the pictures, her jaw tightened, her eyes filled with tears. For how long? 2 years. She looked at me, shocked, hurt, angry. And you just found out? I nodded. She set the photos down on the table and ran her hands through her hair. Mom, I don't even know what to say. Neither do I. We sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Sarah spoke. Have you talked to him? No, why not? Because I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Sarah reached across the table and took my hand. Mom, you can't just sit on this, you have to confront him. I know, my voice broke. But I'm scared. Scared of what? Scared of what comes next. Sarah squeezed my hand. You're one of the strongest women I know. You raised me and Michael. You held this family together. You deserve answers. You deserve the truth. I looked at my daughter, my beautiful, strong, smart daughter, and I realized she was right. I couldn't hide from this. I couldn't pretend it didn't happen. I had to face it. That night, I waited for Richard to come home. Sarah stayed with me until almost midnight, but eventually she had to leave. She hugged me tight before she went. Call me if you need me, she said. I mean it, Mom, anytime, I nodded. When Richard finally came home, it was after 1 in the morning. He looked exhausted. He didn't say hello. Just kicked off his shoes and headed upstairs. I followed him. Richard, I said. He turned, surprised to see me still awake. Carol, what are you doing up? I held out the envelope. His eyes flicked to it, then back to me. What's that? Open it, he hesitated. Then he took the envelope and pulled out the photos. I watched his face change. The color drained from his cheeks. His hands started to shake. Where did you get these? He asked quietly. Does it matter? He looked up at me, and for the first time in years I saw fear in his eyes. Carol, I can explain. Don't. My voice was firm, steady. Don't you dare lie to me anymore. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. It's not what you think, I laughed. A bitter, broken sound. It's not what I think. Richard, there are pictures of you kissing another woman. What else am I supposed to think? He set the photos down on the dresser and rubbed his face. It's complicated. Then uncomplicate it. He looked at me, and I saw it, the guilt, the shame, the truth. I'm sorry, he whispered. And just like that, my worst fear was confirmed. If these stories feel real to you, please subscribe. The words hung in the air between us. I'm sorry, 2 words. That's all he gave me, after 2 years of lying. After 23 years of marriage. After everything we had built together. I stared at him, waiting for more, waiting for an explanation, waiting for him to tell me it was a mistake. That he loved me, that he'd fix it, but he just stood there looking at the floor, his hands in his pockets. That's it? I asked. My voice was shaking now. That's all you have to say. He looked up at me and I saw tears in his eyes, but I didn't feel sympathy, I felt rage. I didn't mean for it to happen, he said quietly. You didn't mean for it to happen, I repeated, my voice rising. Richard, you don't accidentally have an affair for 2 years. You don't accidentally kiss someone. You don't accidentally lie to your wife every single day, he flinched. I know, okay, I messed up. Messed up, I laughed again, hysterical now. Messed up is forgetting to take out the trash. Messed up is being late for dinner. This is betrayal. This is you throwing away everything we built together. I didn't throw it away. Yes, you did. I was shouting now, tears streaming down my face. You did, Richard. The moment you started seeing her, you threw it away. You chose her over me, over us, over our family. He shook his head. It's not like that. Then what is it like, tell me. Make me understand how you could do this to me. He ran his hands through his hair, frustrated. I don't know, Carol, I don't know how it happened. It just did, that's not good enough. I know it's not. He raised his voice now, defensive. But I don't have a better answer. It started as nothing, just talking. She was someone I could talk to. Someone who listened, and then it became more and I didn't know how to stop it. I felt like I'd been slapped. Someone who listened, I whispered. Are you saying I didn't listen to you? He didn't answer. Answer me, Richard, are you blaming me for this? No, he said quickly. No, that's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? He sighed. You and I, we haven't been us for a long time, you know that. I took a step back, stung. So this is my fault. I'm not saying it's your fault. That's exactly what you're saying. My voice cracked. You're saying that because we grew apart, you had the right to go find someone else. You're saying I wasn't enough. Carol, no, I held up my hand. Don't try to justify this. There is no justification. You made a choice. You chose to betray me. And now you have to live with that. He looked at me, his eyes red, his face broken. I still love you, I shook my head. No, you don't. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. I do, he insisted. I never stopped loving you. Then why her? My voice was barely a whisper now. Why wasn't I enough? He didn't answer. And that silence said everything. I turned and walked out of the bedroom. I couldn't look at him anymore. I couldn't be in the same room as him. I went downstairs, grabbed my keys, and left the house. I drove with no destination in mind. I just needed to get away, away from him, away from the life that had just imploded. I ended up at Sarah's apartment. I knocked on the door, and when she opened it, I collapsed into her arms. She didn't ask questions. She just held me. We sat on her couch for hours. I told her everything. Every word Richard had said. Every excuse, every deflection. Sarah was furious. He's unbelievable. He's actually trying to make this your fault. He didn't say that. Mom, yes, he did. He said you didn't listen. He said you grew apart. That's him shifting the blame. I wiped my eyes. Maybe he's right, maybe if I had been a better wife. Stop. Sarah grabbed my hands. Don't you dare blame yourself. You were a great wife. You gave him everything. You sacrificed your career, your dreams, your life to support him. And this is how he repays you. No, this is on him, not you. I wanted to believe her. I really did, but a part of me wondered if she was wrong. If maybe I had failed, if maybe I hadn't been enough. I stayed at Sarah's that night, and the next, and the next. Richard called, texted, left voicemails. I ignored all of it. I needed space. I needed time. I needed to figure out who I was without him. Because for 23 years I had been Richard's wife. Michael and Sarah's mom. The woman who held everything together. But who was I now? I didn't know. And that terrified me. If these stories feel real to you, please subscribe. I stayed at Sarah's for almost 2 weeks. During that time, I barely ate, barely slept. I moved through the days like a ghost, numb to everything around me. Sarah tried her best to take care of me. She cooked meals I didn't eat. She sat with me when I cried. She gave me space when I needed it. She was my rock, my lifeline, but even she couldn't fix what was broken inside me. One evening, as we sat on her couch watching a movie I wasn't really paying attention to, my phone rang. It was Michael. I hesitated. I hadn't told him what happened yet. Sarah had offered to call him, but I asked her not to. I wasn't ready to explain it. Wasn't ready to say the words out loud again. But now, seeing his name on the screen, I knew I couldn't avoid it anymore. I answered, "Hi, sweetheart." "Mom." His voice was tight, angry. "Why didn't you tell me?" My heart sank. "Sarah told you." "Yeah, she told me, because apparently you weren't going to." I closed my eyes. "Michael, I'm sorry. I didn't know how." "How long have you known?" 2 weeks. There was a long silence, then have you talked to Dad? Not since that night. Good, don't. I blinked, surprised. What? I mean it, Mom, don't talk to him, don't forgive him. Don't let him manipulate you into thinking this is anything other than what it is, a betrayal. Michael. He called me yesterday, Michael said, his voice shaking. He tried to explain. Tried to make excuses. And you know what he said? He said you two had been drifting apart, that he felt lonely, that she made him feel alive again. I felt a sharp pain in my chest. He said that? Yeah, like it's your fault he cheated, like you're the one who drove him to it. Tears filled my eyes. Maybe I did. Mom, no, don't you dare take the blame for this. He made a choice, a selfish, cowardly choice, and now he has to deal with the consequences. I wiped my eyes. I don't know what to do, Michael. I don't know how to move forward. Then don't. Not yet, take your time. Figure out what you want, what you need. And whatever you decide, Sarah and I will support you, but don't let him guilt you into staying. You deserve better than that. His words broke something open inside me, a dam I had been holding back for weeks. I sobbed, deep, ugly, uncontrollable sobs. Michael stayed on the line, quiet, just letting me cry. When I finally calmed down, he said, "I love you, Mom, and I'm so sorry you're going through this." "I love you too," I whispered. After we hung up, Sarah sat beside me and wrapped her arm around my shoulders. "You're going to be okay, Mom, I promise." I wanted to believe her, but I didn't know if I would ever be okay again. A few days later, Richard showed up at Sarah's apartment. Sarah answered the door and blocked him from coming in. "What are you doing here?" "I need to talk to your mother," he said. "She doesn't want to talk to you." "Please, Sarah, just 5 minutes." I heard his voice from the living room. My heart started pounding. I walked to the door and stood behind Sarah. "It's okay," I said quietly. Sarah looked at me concerned. "Mom, it's okay, I'll talk to him." She stepped aside reluctantly. Richard looked awful. His eyes were red and puffy, his face was gaunt. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Good, can we talk?" he asked. "Please." I nodded and stepped outside, closing the door behind me. We stood on Sarah's porch, the cold November air biting at my skin. "What do you want, Richard?" "I want to fix this," he said. "I want to fix us." I laughed bitterly. "There is no us anymore." "Don't say that." "Why not? It's the truth." He took a step closer. "Carol, I made a mistake, a terrible, unforgivable mistake, but I love you, I've always loved you. And I want to make this right." I looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time I didn't see the man I married, I saw a stranger. "You can't make this right," I said quietly. You can't undo what you did, you can't erase the pain, you can't take back the lies. I know, he said, his voice breaking, but I can try, I can spend the rest of my life trying. I shook my head. I don't want that, Richard. I don't want a life where I'm constantly wondering if you're lying to me, constantly looking over my shoulder, constantly questioning if I'm enough. You are enough, he said desperately. You've always been enough. Then why wasn't I enough to keep you faithful? He didn't have an answer. I took a deep breath. I think we both know this marriage has been over for a long time, we just didn't want to admit it. No, he said, don't say that. It's true. We stopped being partners years ago. We stopped being friends. We became two people living in the same house, going through the motions. And maybe if we had been honest with each other, we could have fixed it. But you didn't give me that chance. You went behind my back, you lied, you betrayed me. Tears streamed down his face. I'm so sorry. I know you are, but sorry doesn't change anything. He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I need you to leave, I said. Carol, please, Richard. Just go. He stood there for a long moment, looking at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Then, finally, he turned and walked away. I watched him get into his car and drive off. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something other than pain. I felt relief. If these stories feel real to you, please subscribe. It's been 6 months since I opened that door. 6 months since my life changed forever. In that time, I've learned a lot about myself, about strength, about resilience, about what it means to truly start over. Richard and I are divorced now. It was finalized last month. It wasn't a bitter process. We were both just tired, tired of fighting, tired of pretending, tired of holding onto something that was already gone. He's still with Jessica. I heard through mutual friends that they moved in together. Part of me feels sad about that, not because I want him back, but because I gave him 23 years of my life, and it took him less than 6 months to move on. But that's his journey, not mine. I moved into a small apartment downtown. It's nothing fancy. Just one bedroom, a little kitchen, and a view of the city. But it's mine, and for the first time in a long time I feel at peace. Sarah visits me often. Michael calls me every Sunday. They've both been so supportive, so loving. They remind me that even though my marriage ended, my family didn't. I've also started seeing a therapist. At first, I was embarrassed. I thought needing help meant I was weak. But my therapist taught me that asking for help is actually one of the bravest things you can do. She's helped me process the betrayal, the anger, the grief. She's helped me see that Richard's affair wasn't about me, it was about him, his choices, his failures, and she's helped me rediscover who I am. For so long, I defined myself by my roles: wife, mother, caretaker, but I'm more than that. I'm Carol. I'm a woman with dreams and passions and a future that's still unwritten. I've started painting again. Something I used to love before I got married, but gave up because I was too busy. Now, I spend my evenings with a canvas and a brush, letting the colors speak for me. I've also started volunteering at a women's shelter, listening to other women's stories, offering support. It's healing in a way I didn't expect. Helping others has helped me heal myself. I won't lie and say it's been easy. There are still hard days, days when I feel lonely, days when I miss the life I thought I had, days when I wonder if I made the right choice. But then I remind myself, I chose me, I chose my dignity, I chose my peace, and that's something I'll never regret. I've also learned to forgive, not Richard, not yet, maybe not ever. But I've forgiven myself. I've forgiven myself for not seeing the signs sooner, for staying in a marriage that wasn't serving me, for believing that love meant sacrificing my happiness. I've learned that forgiveness isn't about excusing someone's behavior. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of bitterness. And I'm finally free. Looking back, I realized that opening that door wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of a new chapter, a new life, a new me. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I'll ever fall in love again. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust someone the way I trusted Richard. But I do know this: I'm stronger than I ever thought possible. I survived something I didn't think I could survive, and I came out the other side. That door didn't just change my life, it saved it. Because if I hadn't opened it, I'd still be living a lie. Still pretending. still shrinking myself to fit into someone else's version of who I should be. But now, I'm living my truth. And there's nothing more powerful than that. So if you're reading this, if you're going through something similar, I want you to know you're not alone, you're not broken, and you're not defined by someone else's mistakes. You are enough. You've always been enough. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away from the life you planned and step into the life you deserve. Trust yourself, trust your strength. And trust that even in the darkest moments, there is light. Because I promise you, it gets better. It really does. And this is where my story ends tonight. Life doesn't always give us answers right away. Sometimes, God asks us to stay patient, stay kind, and stay silent, not because we are weak, but because He sees what others do not. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to reflect. Maybe someone needed this reminder today. Thank you for listening with an open heart. May God see every silent struggle and replace pain with peace. Until next time, this was Voice of Auntie Universe. If these stories feel real to you, please subscribe.